To Christian Myers.
All right. My name is Chris Raymond, very grateful recovered alcoholic. Yeah. Pretty cool. Some thoughts. Y'all always get us at the break. Y'all are the best. You know, it's like, I wish we could just do this all day long with a break, and then we could, some of y'all ask some great questions. Excuse me. One of the things that I was so confused about, my first attempt in AA was in the early 80s, and I didn't get sober till 87, so I'm in and out, in and out. And so many of these people, I would get the idea that the person that wanted to stay sober the most, how many of you guys ever in relapse, and you relapsed and somebody got in your face and said, well, you just didn't want it bad enough? Y'all follow? This is the stuff that drives me crazy, because at the end of the day, you're going to get blamed for not being able to stay sober. That's just what we scrape it off the side of the plate. It's your fault you can't stay sober. Unless you've not been told how to stay sober. It makes sense? And at some point, Bill Wilson does some great writings about it, guys. If you want them, like I said, holler at me and I'll send them to you. But Bill Wilson makes a really clear point. Sometimes this is our fault. AAs need to look at what's happening with our low success rates and why people can't stay sober. I mean, guys, in the best case scenario, this is a train wreck. I mean, this is a one fatal mean illness. And to try to stay sober without the tools. We can all do it a little bit different, guys, but I mean, the basic tools are the same for all of us. It's real simple. Here's the grinder. A lot of people believe it's about belief, and there's a great line in the book that talks about belief versus access. We believe in and have gained access to a power greater than ourselves. Belief is not enough, folks. There's a lot of us in this room that never had a problem with God. We believe, and we really want to stay sober. But the guy in this room that believes the most is not the cat that's going to get sober. I don't care what kind of attitude you bring into this. It's the guy that gets off his ass and says, I'm sitting there in 1987 talking to those old guys, and they're trying to explain to me why I can't stay sober, and I'm trying to contradict them, telling them it's about the woman and the job and this and all the my external circumstances. And God love them with their patience. They stuck with me long enough to basically say, you know, you're full of crap. This is back to the feces. What is that? Yeah, it's not about that external. Although that's important and we need to discuss it, that's not the reason. The reason is that you won't do the work. The person that gets off their butt and starts this journey through the steps is the cat that's going to get sober. Guys, I've seen this in treatment 1,000 times. The guy you think is going to do really, really good, he gets out, just like Myers said, after a period of time fizzles out and stops doing the work. They don't stay sober. And the little knucklehead you didn't think had a snowball's chance in hell, everything on the outside, had no home to go, no job, had health problems, had all this other stuff. There's no way he can stay sober. He's surrounded by triggers. Oh my God, he's never going to stay sober. And he just says, you know what, I'm going to do this work. And in a few days, they're plowing through the steps, and the cat stays sober for the rest of his life. I've seen it. It's all about action. We are a spiritual program of action. And this is where I think sometimes we've gotten off the page. I'm going to mention this real quick before I go into this 4th and 5th, 6th and 7th stuff, because I gotta, and we're going to talk about it a little bit this afternoon when we talk about sponsorship. It sounds like we're sometimes, and I'm sitting there listening to what we're talking about, it sounds like we're beating up AA. It sounds like we're talking trash about the meetings. Guys, our experience shows us that there seems to be some problems that we're having because we are not really being very successful with a whole lot of people. So I'm just trying to say, we're not trying to set you up against your group. Go to group conscience. Y'all try to, the book talks about building the fellowship around us we crave. And so we're not trying to set you up against your sponsor. We're not saying that everything's got to be rigid this way. It's just we're just throwing out some thoughts that some of you that are struggling trying to stay sober, it may be some basic simple stuff you're not doing. Like the 12 steps. So just throw that out there. In the book, right after we do that third step prayer, which is a great prayer, Myers and then talked about it. Basically, that prayer, what it does, if you look at it, it obligates us to what? To bear witness to God's power. It obligates us to go back into meetings. I'm going to suggest very strongly that you consider this. If you're going to a meeting talking about your crappy day, the problems that you're having, you're using that format incorrectly. And I know people will suggest you do that. You know, if you've got a problem and you don't talk about it, you may drink. Okay, there are meetings out there where they want you to talk about that. Go. That's cool. I just said, I don't know why you got to go to 7 of those meetings a week. Just a thought. My book obligates me to bear witness to the people that I might be able to help. I can refer to my problem, but today I want to tell you about my cool life. I got a nice wife, and I got a cool job, and I got a great bike, and my health is better, and I rode 30 miles Thursday night in a 100-degree temperature. I'm pretty fit for an old bastard, and so I need to go into meetings and share. People take shots at us all the time. I got an email the other day from a guy in Europe. You think meetings should be a pep rally? Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I do. Because we've got one opportunity to do that, folks. We got one opportunity. The little newcomer comes in, sits in the back. Nobody sees him, probably, and he's sitting back there. If all he hears is a bunch of people sitting around pissing and moaning about their divorces, what's this guy going to do? And it's like if those people in 1987, after coming back in from that suicide attempt, hadn't given me some hope, hadn't talked some cool stuff to me, I don't know what I would have done, folks. I was already triggered to die here. And I'm so grateful that room understood what this was about. It doesn't mean that we're perfect, guys. It doesn't mean we're all little sunbeams and nothing ever goes bad in our life. But guys, if I got something going on, I'm going to call Chris Schroeder. I'm going to call my sponsor, Gary, in Indianapolis. I got friends in this room that I can call and say, man, you got a minute? Let me run some crap by you here. I got to talk to somebody about this. Thank God for the fellowship. But I have a responsibility in the meeting. My primary purpose is to help that newcomer get some hope so that they'll stay. It's the least I can do. So after that third step prayer, we've already talked about it this morning. The book says we launched out on a course of vigorous action. You get the little visual with the spaceship. That doesn't mean go sit on your ass for 6 months. There are 2 places in the book where we lose people that are doing the work. We can get you to a third step prayer. It's between the third step and the fourth step. We lose so many people it's not even funny. And of course, again, I just talked to a little sister that is having this problem. And then when you relapse, then we start you over. It's like, this is ridiculous. Let's pick up where we left off and let's move on, folks. Nowhere in the book does it say you're going to stay sober after you do a third step prayer. It just didn't. It doesn't. It's some people had this large experience around that, but we're not going to be on some rock solid ground. We got to get down to causes and conditions. There's some things that we need to do. If you believe in God and you're willing to say yes in second and third step, and you want to get access, let's finish the work. The other place we lose you is between the seventh step prayer and making the 8-step list and making our amends. And we generally will stall out. You feel so good. Oh, I did a 4th and 5th step. Everything's great. It is. Rock on. But unless we start clearing up the wreckage, we're going to talk about that this afternoon, we're going to be in trouble. And the longer we put that off, the tougher this is going to be. Just suggesting. So our idea, the steps were to be done all at one time. We've gotten in a habit in our groups and in treatment to compartmentalize everybody. When you come to my treatment center, we're going to teach the first step class over here, and then we teach second and third step guys, and we teach 4th step guys, and we're compartmentalizing everything. But you understand, as the book, it wants us to do this all in a flowing manner, all at one time. And it's the whole idea. If you want an experience, stop splitting this up so much. Steps 3 through 9 were supposed to be done all at one time. It's been pointed out by scholars for all the time. There's no amen after that 3rd step prayer. The amen comes in the 9th step. That's when we start getting serious. We put a conclusion on this deal, and the miracle starts to take place as a result of doing the work. Y'all understand what I'm saying? I believe in God, but I owe everybody. And they get warrants out for my arrest, and my wife's filed for divorce, and I'm wondering why I'm not feeling it. Well, you're not feeling it because we haven't cleaned it up. Let's find out. But we got to find out what we need to clean up first, and that's why we kind of place them in order. So from page 64, I still got some of these little formats up here where it talks about the steps if y'all want to pick some up on the way out. We should put them out, but between here and the smokers, and then they could snag them. Oh! Don't get me started. 64 and 71, we talk specifically about the steps. When I sit down with my little guy that I'm working with, and we do a third step prayer, we get up, and I got my little trusty date planner. I just had it out, and I open it up and says, okay, when can we do a fifth step? First thing, before I give them any instructions on the fourth step, before I talk to them, I'm going to say, I give them a week. All right? My guys get 7 days to do it. We can do it quicker, because it's perfectly possible to do it. But guys, this idea that we're going to give you a whole bunch of time to do this, now it's where y'all get grindy. Because see, some of you took 9 months to do a 4-step. I needed every minute of that. That's a lie. That's not true. I'm not trying to be abrasive with anybody. I'm saying that's not true. If I give you 6 months, 5 months, and 29 days, it'll be sitting in the closet and you won't touch it. And then it says, oh shit, I got a fifth step tomorrow. And you'll get out there and you'll write like a dog and you'll get it done. I've seen it too many times. Nowhere in the book does it say take your time to do this work. And that's why we watch so many people relapsing around the 4-step. Oh, he was in a 4-step. He was in a 4-step. No, we were letting him sit in a 4-step for long periods of time. It's like doing therapy work where you look at all these dark issues and you don't deal with any of them. You just have all these haunts in front of you, and this is not how it's supposed to be done. Bill Wilson's in Towns Hospital doing what was going to become a 3rd and 4th step in the hospital. I have watched thousands of people do 4 steps in treatment and have barn-burning spiritual experiences as a result. Y'all follow? Stop complicating this. I was telling somebody the other day, I've got this guide. I can't find it now. I'm hoping somebody didn't steal it. I've got an 84-page 4-step guide. It was on my desk forever. I used it as a coffee coaster, because it... No, can you imagine the little newcomer coming in? He's all freaking out as though this is going to be so hard. It's not hard. And drop an 84-page guide on this deal to do a 4th. Come on, guys. For the rest of my life, there are dozens of ways to do a 4-step, probably hundreds of ways. There's some really good. Maybe downstream a few years, and y'all want to go back through the work, pick up that 84-page guide and kick some butt. The first time through, guys, this ain't rocket science, and you ain't in a place to be doing that anyway. This is really simple. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look at the things that are working and the things that are not working in my life. I need to see the truth so I can take care of this business. Make sense? If you know where you are, then you can figure out where you're going. Yeah? You sit down and talk to people as, I owe everybody on earth. No, that's not being truthful. And this is what we got to try to get you to. What is the truth? A lot of this stuff, resentments that I've got, problems I've got, are up here in my head. The perception is, y'all follow? When I sit down, pen to paper, and start writing this down, is it true or is it not true? Yeah, we always want to kind of make it worse than it is, and the truth of the matter. Resentment inventory is pretty simple, guys. We're going to list the people, institutions, and principles we're pissed at. Y'all know people. Y'all with us? Next door neighbor, your boss, people. Institutions, groups of people. Police, it's the banking industry, groups of people. I'm a big CNN junkie. There's whole segments of the world I just hate. And it's like, buddy, you're not going to do well in this world, feeling that way. And it's this justified anger kind of blocks us from the sunlight of the Spirit, don't you know? So institutions. Principles are belief systems that you believe or you don't believe that cause problems. Men are better than women. Whites are better than black. This and that. I mean, these belief systems that some of us are raised with that separates us from other people, that stuff's got to be looked at. And this is where we're gonna deal with it. I'm gonna get down, I'm gonna say a little prayer to God. I'll say, God, show me the people I'm pissed at. And then I'm gonna start writing. All right? Names will come fast and furious for a minute. And then you start slowing down a minute, and then they start petering out. And guys, when it stops, you got the people, institutions, and principles. I can't think of anything more. That's fine. Go on. I hear it in meetings all the time. I'm working on my 4-step. I'm working on my 4-step. I'm working. Buddy, you haven't picked that notebook up in 2 weeks. You're not working on anything. You follow? If God wants you to put that person's name down, trust me, you won't have any problem remembering that person. Write him down. We could always go back and do this again. As I work steps subsequent times, I'm sitting down with my new sponsee and I remember somebody, oh shit, I need to do a little piece of work on that. And I'll put his name down and I can do that. This is like triage, guys. Y'all know what triage is? I had a bike accident with a deer one time, no jokes. And I was in the emergency room all busted up, and they were checking my blood loss. They were checking my breathing, triage to make sure I was alive. Eventually, after about 30 or 40 minutes, they started picking gravel out of my ass, and it was like, oh, thank God. But initially, what we did was the big things. That's what we're trying to do in this 4-step. There's lots of little stuff we can split hairs with over here, but right now, let's get this big, nasty stuff out of the way. I'd rather see you put 10 of the biggest resentments you've got down on paper, work the columns across, finish this bastard, and get some relief from this, get some clarity around this, than to sit you working on an inventory. I had a counselor at the place we worked one time, and he used to say, if you don't have at least 300 names on your inventory, you're not doing a thorough inventory. Okay, where did this start? Because it didn't start in AA. It started in treatment centers that needed to use up some time. Y'all follow? Oh, you go back and you can come up with more names than that. Guys, you're going to have to do writing around all of this. Why put a name down? You haven't even thought of this lady in 20 years. Don't put her on that inventory. That's ridiculous. You're wasting your damn time. Y'all understand that? We need to get the current stuff out, the stuff that's blocking us. You haven't thought of this woman in 20 years. You don't have her. Maybe you resented her 20 years. You obviously got over it because you haven't been thinking about it. Yeah, I'm just saying. Put the list. Now I'm going to read the most controversial thing I'm going to say all day. Y'all ready? I have experience with this. No matter where I speak, when we do workshops like this and we start talking about 4-step business, you would be amazed how many people come up after this. And so I'm just telling you now, please don't. Don't get mad at me, but your sponsor told you not to do this, and I'm just telling you, I don't care. Whatever you want to do there, the big book says to do this. Top of page 66, you can jot the note down. To conclude that others were wrong as far as most of us ever got, the usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Ready? Drum roll. Sometimes it was remorse, and then we were sored ourselves. Put your name on your 4-step. You're welcome. Bless y'all. Come on, guys. Listen, I don't know about you guys, but there were a lot of people out there. I was raised in a church. I didn't raise up just hating people. I mean, I talked to some of these folks. It's like, God, what are you, Satan? You hate everybody you ever came in contact with? I mean, I had a bunch of, I had 20 or 30 people down at Resentments, Inventories, Principle. I had a bunch of folks down there. But guys, I got to tell you, the worst enemy I had was me. Y'all follow? I beat myself up for so many things it wasn't even funny. And from this inventory, what we're going to end up getting, we're going to get 2 things. One, we're going to get a 6-step character defect list. When I do my 5th step, you're doing a 5th step with me. I'm sitting down here writing, and I'm going to make you a list of character defects because you're going to need it an hour later when we do the 7th-step prayer. And I'm also making a list of people that you might owe amends to, because that's what the book says. From our amends, from our 5th step, we've got our 8th-step amends list. So that's why this is all going to happen at one time. So one of the things that we got to look at, there was a lady that let me live in her little garage apartment thing. And she was an absolute sweetheart, and I ran up a big phone bill on her phone, and she called me and called me on it. Y'all follow? And I was mortified. Now listen, I wasn't mad at that lady. She was a sweetheart and let me live in her house for practically free. Who screwed up in this relationship? I did. Who would wake up in the middle of the night absolutely mortified of the things that I did? I did. I need to put my name on this stupid list. I hate myself for some of the crazy stuff I did. I got to clean this stuff up because a lot of the amends that I need to go make are going to come from this. Make sense? I'm just saying, that's why Bill Wilson put it in there. Just put your name on the list and move on. I don't know why that's so controversial. I just did. People, institutions, and principles, I'm going to put that in the first column. Guys, I'm going to get crystal clear. Second column, I'm going to put why I'm pissed, okay? And I need to get specific because this is the problem. Again, we're going to use this information when we start making amends. We're going to have this some clarity around this. I'm mad at this person specifically for this second column. If I lie in the second column, I'm mad at my wife because she cheated on me. That's a lie. I had a perception that she was, but the truth was she wasn't. But I said it so much it became real. I got to take that off the list. I'm mad at her for a whole bunch of other stuff, but that ain't why I'm mad at her. What's the truth? Second column. Third column, there's 7 areas that we look at. How has this resentment affected my life? How has this situation that we're talking about affected my life? There's 7 areas in there. In my personal relations, my pride, my pocketbook, my self-esteem, my sex relations. You can see it in the pages. It's just real simple. And it's a numbers game. I'm just jotting that stuff down. How did it affect me? Fourth column, my mistakes, not my part. I'm going to tell you something, guys. If you're teaching this and you start talking about your part in that fourth column and somebody's been abused as a child, they will come up afterwards and have a conversation with you. Make sense? My mistakes. Have I been carrying this around in secret most of my adult life? That was your mistake. Got it? If I can see my mistake in any of these resentments, I can get free. Guys, I've said it from a million podiums. I'm going to say it, just you've got to hear it. Victimized people get sober every day. Some of you in here have been hurt so bad it makes me want to cry. Victimized people get sober and can get sober. Victims won't. If you do this work and you remain a victim, you will not stay sober. That is not a theory. That is not my opinion. That is absolute fact from working with thousands and thousands of alcoholics. Victims don't stay sober. There's a difference. Y'all understand? By doing this work, you can stop. If I see that I made a mistake and it's this big, this person over here had this big of a part, and I can see one little thing that I could have done different that would have made a difference in that, I can get free of the resentment. I don't care how bad or how horrible it is, I can get free. If I can't see my mistake in that deal, if I'm doing a fifth step, we're going to stop right there. Because we're not going to go on to the next resentment until you see your mistake in this deal. It's just that simple, folks. We want to paint this picture that it's always our fault. Everything's our fault. I'm not going to go in there. I'm just going to say, if you can see a little piece of it that you played in this deal, you can get free of the whole damn thing. How cool is that? Put it down. It's just that simple, and you start writing down in columns on that deal. We do all 4 columns. I'm a schmuck for just doing it the way the book talks about. There's some great formats out there. You can do extended third columns. You can do extended fourth columns. There's lots of cool stuff out there. We can talk about it and get you websites you can look at. It's got the forms on there, checklist. I don't care if you checklist or not, but it's pen to paper that seems to make this real. I can sit there and look you in the face and tell you a lie. If I'm sitting down writing it, it's a little difficult. It'll help keep me honest. We do a little 2-column fear inventory. Again, people have expounded on that. The book asked me to list the fears I've got and why do I think I've got them. List the fears. I said, I ain't scared. I ain't afraid of nothing. My Mark, he was the best. He says, just you afraid of going broke? Yes. You afraid of getting sick? Yes. You afraid of women? That's a cheap damn shot. Yes. He said, Chris, I think what we're seeing is a pattern here. Why don't you put down, are you afraid of little bunny rabbits? Maybe we'll make a list of things you're not afraid of, you know? And Because y'all read the line in the book where it talks about fear was the evil and corroding thread. I first read that, I says, boy, he's a little prosaic here, he's a little wordy here of evil and corroding thread. Until I got on a list and started making the list of the things that I'm afraid of and realized every area of my life is chock and block full of fear. It's just, and it continues to show up in that fourth column, and it continues to show up. I got to make a list of that. We're going to go to God and we're going to ask God to remove that stuff anyway. It's a character defect. Basically, it's simple. Self-reliance on ourselves is what caused this nonsense. Sex inventory. Guys, this is so quick it's not even funny. There's 9 questions to ask. It freaks me out when we start talking about this and everybody, I'm going to write this synopsis of this relationship and how it all enacted and all this. That's not what the book is asking you to do. It's asking you to answer 9 damn questions about this relationship. If I'm doing a 4-step the way the book asked me to do in a sex inventory, you and I could sit down and we could share a 5th step together. And I could share my sex inventory with you and never redden. It's not asking how many times you poked and how many times you did this and how many times you dressing up in that chicken costume. It didn't ask any of that. It said, did I treat you with respect? Did I unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, and bitterness? And a lot of times I do that without even thinking about it. I have to look at that. Make sense? Guys, it's just real simple. You jot this stuff down and we just go. It's just not that. You can lump them together if you want, one-night stands, whatever. But I mean, a few little lines, and that's all you got to do. Answer the question, and we're going to move on. I want to see the patterns here of how I'm treating God's Word. I was doing a 5th step with a guy. I've talked about this before. Every once in a while, I'll get a kid, and we'll sit down. We're getting ready to do a 5th step, and he says, we do a resentment inventory and a fear inventory. Now he's fixing to do the sex inventory. He says, now we get to talk about them bitches. Excuse me? We're done. I'll find you a nice woman in the fellowship to do this piece with. Because you sit there and just the way we treat. No. Y'all understand? No. We're not going to treat people that way. We're going to treat people, all people, with grace and dignity, because that's what we're about. Guys, I was a card-carrying bigot when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, no kidding. White supremacy group, bring it on. Absolute ignorance. You start doing a work and you start seeing where this comes from and the fear around all that nonsense, and I got to tell you what, God will have his way with you, and you'll get taken to a place you've never been before. I just got to say, and that revolves around your hate for women, opposite sex, for authority. It's a pretty cool deal. Guys, when we sit and get this thing finished, again, I've given this guy a period of time to do the work. And again, if they're detoxing hard, maybe we can give them a few more days. But guys, 7 days works pretty good with me. We're going to get this thing knocked out and move on down the road. They can eventually, again, do another one if they have to. We're going to line up a 5th step. The book says we're going to let our families know what we're doing so that we can be away. I need to make sure that y'all understand that while you're working on this 4th step, you need to absolutely be careful with that information in that notebook. A lot of people, I can't believe. Do y'all realize, especially if your families have come to Family Week at the treatment center, they know exactly what you're doing on that 4th step. If they're in Al-Anon, they know exactly what it is. So you've got a notebook sitting on the table, my 4th step, and you leave it on the table. This is going to show up in a court of law, okay? Come on, guys. There's a difference between being sick and just being stupid. This is like therapeutic writing here. We're writing this stuff down. It's like it doesn't need to be. And I mean, you want to talk about the amend that you were afraid of? Try to make an amend for that. Keep it secret. Keep it quiet. That's what I'm saying. The less time we can leave this thing laying around, the better it's going to be. I take this inventory and we're going to get quiet. You and I, we're going to do a 5th step. I'm going to open the book and I'm going to show you in the pages what we're going to review a little bit, and then I usually have my guys do a little 3rd step prayer again to make sure we're all on the same page, and then we're going to go. And guys, my job as a sponsor is to do a couple of things. I'm going to do some writing there. Again, I'm going to get you a 6-step list by the time we finish. I'm going to get your amends list kind of organized for the 8th step, because you're going to need that. We're going to start making amends today. We're going to get this stuff done. And the other deal I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep you moving through this deal. If you can see your truth in the 4th column, we're going to go next. You'll follow? Next. Means your resentment against that high school friend that punched you in the nose is not going to get any more time than the the boss that fired you or the woman that cheated on you or you're crazy. We're not there to analyze it. Myers and I laugh about it a lot. Y'all want to get caught up in the details. Y'all follow? Myers talks about it better than I'll let him do that. But quit. We're trying to see your truth. The fourth column is where I want us to be. If you can see your truth, we're going to go into the next one. I hear people out there on the podium all the time. Well, I sat down with my sponsor and we did a 10-hour fifth. No. We're going to take the most selfish, self-centered person on earth and let them talk for 10 hours? No, we're not. Come on, you're not that evil. You're not, come on, Damien, let's move on. We got to go quick. We got to go next. My usually, first time through the steps, my usual deal is a couple of hours, max. Next. How we do the resentment, we do the fear inventory, we do the little sex inventory. Guys, really, 2.5 hours at the most, ever on that. And then we're going to get up, and then afterwards we're going to wait for an hour. I give them instructions on 6 and 7, and then they're going to go do the 7-step prayer. We're going to talk about it. There's some great stuff to read about it. I need to mention to you real quick, guys, because a lot of people, I always hear people sharing it from the podiums when they start talking about this. This is about confession. Guys, there's a piece of this, I suppose, is confession. If I can let you know my secrets, the better I'm going to be. I'm with that. But if this was just about confession, folks, the churches would be full of sober people. I'm not knocking that, but I'm just saying, letting you know my what I perceive as my truth. But with somebody that understands what this is about, you can help me understand what I need to do with that information. Like, go make amends to that person, how we can handle this. So it's not just about, if you want to take this inventory and after we do our work, as responsible members of Alcoholics Anonymous, you want to go do it with a priest, you want to do that too, you're more than welcome to do that. Folks, I'm just saying, you share something with me, I'll go to my grave with it. It's not my place to judge you one way or another. I can suggest that you turn yourself in. I can suggest that there's some things that you could do around that legally. I'm not a lawyer. I'm there to listen and try to help you make sure that you see your truth in that fourth column. Y'all all clear on that? I had a counselor one time. He said, well, I got my information and I finished a 4-step and I went and found a bum down at the bus station and did my 5th step with him. I'm like, whoa, boy, I bet that was a fulfilling experience. This is a fact-finding mission, folks. I went into this believing that I was an evil dog. And the truth of the matter was, I was a flawed individual who was absolutely salvageable. And it was a good sponsor that understood that helped me do this. He also suggested that I see some therapists about some other stuff. Thank you for the advice. I did and got some real benefits from that. Thank God for smart, knowledgeable people in the program that can direct. He didn't try to therapize me. He said, buddy, that's way beyond my scope. Why don't we hook you up with somebody that might be able to help you? Make sense? I'll just say this about the character defect stuff. Guys, there's some great information in the 12 and 12. Chris Schroeder was talking about it this morning a little bit. There's no better guide as far as I'm concerned. There's a great little piece in there in 6 and 7. It's a wonderful exercise. There's some great books. Drop the Rock back there was written specifically about your character defect. It's some pretty cool stuff. This is stuff that we get to work on our ongoing basis. I got to tell you guys, though, Bill Wilson wrote 2 paragraphs on it. All right? I want to ask God to remove the things that are completely objectionable to God and the people around me. Some of y'all will notice that I'm not saying the F-bomb every 3 words. That was a character defect of mine, and I had to stop. Because if I sit in a room like this, large people, and there would be a few of you that wouldn't care, and there would be maybe 1 or 2 of you that really would be offended by that. What point did it make of me to continue to do that if I knew that I was hurting you? It's my right. I can share. No, it's not. If my behavior is somehow hurting you, and I go to God and I say, God, help me not do that. Help me be, I can say the same thing and just be a little more gentle with it. How's that? Character defects. God will help me change. It's a wonderful experience I'm the shyest guy in the room. Absolute fact. I jump around up here like a little stepped-on spider, but back out there, I am. Some of y'all says, "Are you okay?" I am quiet to the core. That's my I will immediately go to that. That's why I love to travel with Patty. She's as outgoing and as talkative as anybody I'd ever be around. And it's just easier. She runs interference, and I love her for it. Y'all follow? But it's difficult when God asks you to speak someplace and you can't because you're crippled with anxiety about public speaking. You go to God and say, God, you got to help me out here. This character defect is stopping me from being effective with the guys I sponsor, with the guys that I want to try to help. And God moved into that realm with me. God will change you. The person you think you are, trust me, God can move it if you do it. And the prayer is pretty simple. Remove the character defects that are keeping me separated from you, keeping me from being effective with the people I'm trying to help in all areas of my life. So I'm going to let Myers jump in there real quick.
Yep. Howdy, y'all. Real quick. We're going to be done here in about 15 or 20 minutes. And we can eat. This will be good. I can't wait. Chris is right about being shy. It's so funny. We've traveled all over the world together, and I've never seen him ride in the front seat of a car yet, ever. He always will sit in the back seat like this. He goes, no, you sit up there like that. And like committee dinners where there's a whole bunch of people around like this. I mean, if there's any way Chris can get out of it, he will, because he just doesn't,
Because I'm better than you.
Truth. He's just real shy. People call me and say, hey, I'm going to see your brother at this thing this weekend, and we're going to really mess with him. And I'm going, buddy, you're going to get killed. I'm just telling you. And he's just real shy. So y'all be tender with him. Let me tell you something real quick that's weird. I don't know, in sponsorship land, if you ask me to sponsor you, I'll think about a few things, and the very first thing that I used to always think about for sure was this: if I say yes to you, there's going to be an 8-hour inventory, and I'm going to come up with some excuse not to sponsor you. Maybe I could just be your temporary sponsor. Maybe I could hook you up with somebody else. Maybe I could we do this all the time, so. That old song that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young used to do, like that. There was a lyric in there that said, "Confusion has its cost." And guys, around this, there is more confusion around this inventory stuff than anything that I've ever seen. Different ways of doing it, different this kind of stuff. The problem is that because we're not real clear about it, if I'm ambivalent about it or if I'm confused about it, then I tend to hold it at some distance. Which means that if we're getting along pretty cool and we're sitting in meetings and we're buddies and we're pals and you don't mention it, I'm not going to mention it. I don't want to, you understand what I'm saying? And so it was easy in the early days to end up with guys that I was sponsoring, and I would have worked with them for 8, 9, 10 months, and we haven't done an inventory yet. Because I don't know what to do. There's no confidence there. And this is the reason why I think it's important that we talk about this and then we sort of see. When you look in the big book over on page 64, and it says, this is step 4. And then look at the very first thing out of Bill's mouth like that. I'll read it to you. You don't have to reach for your book. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and fact-facing process. The analogy that he leads off with is a commercial inventory. So let me ask you, how many of you guys have ever... Let's pick retail because it's easier to see like that. How many of you guys have ever worked in any kind of retail situation at all? Okay, everybody that's been in retail knows that you got to take an inventory. You got to see what it is that's saleable. What's good? If you got a bunch of clodhoppers from 30 years ago up there at a shoe store, nobody's going to be buying them. At some point, you got to look at them and go, nobody wants to buy these crazy ass shoes from 30 years ago. We got to get them out of here. It's the same with anything else. Batteries, they're bad. Who wants to buy we got this great pretty rack of batteries and they've been dead for years and they're just sitting there. You reckon you're going to be able to sell them? You may, but you're going to get them all back, right? You're going to have to figure out what's going on. That's exactly what they're looking for on this kind of stuff. It's like the problem we run into is that the longer, this stuff that Chris was talking about, is the longer I let you talk about it, what I began to realize is that you will spend every minute trying to justify your bad behavior. And so these inventories that get really spread out, if you could look at it from a distance, if you just step back and look at what was said like this, how much of that was actually sharing the detail of the inventory and how much of that was you trying to justify your bad behavior? You see? Well, I was having a bad day with my girlfriend and then, the Garland cops, they pull me over and Well, I can't remember if they pulled me over before or after, but I was just I'm just sitting here drooling. I mean, I'm just like, I don't need to know that stuff. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference at all. You resent the Garland Police Department like that. Did you run the red light? Yes. Next. I didn't need to know why you got pulled over. I didn't need to know why you weren't concentrating on the red light. I don't care. But they get so drawn out like that. There's a group of folks that I met in the Midwest, some gals that I was talking to one night at a conference that we were doing, and she said, well, we do inventory out here a lot different than y'all do anywhere else like that. I said, well, what do y'all do? And she said, well, we get together on a Friday. There's a whole bunch of us get together to do it. We got like 8 or 9 people that are going to do inventory at one time, and everybody comes and we put a bunch of pillows on the ground, and we light a bunch of candles, and we bring a bunch of fuzzy toys in there like this, and we sit out there like this, and we spend Friday and all day Saturday, and by Sunday afternoon, we're finished talking about all of this stuff like that. I said, so it's like a little girl, like a sleepover thing. And she goes, yeah, kind of like that. And I went, wow, I'm not knocking it. I just can't seem to line it up with anything that I'm reading here. I just can't seem to line it up. And so I asked her, this same lady, she was a sweetheart, and I said, so let me ask you a question. Where do you get into the fourth column on that kind of stuff? Where did you see the mistakes that you made? And she goes, fourth column? What? I don't know. Sweet pea, I think we got a problem. I think you because they want to look at it like it's just all confessional stuff. Like, we just finished a place out of the country, and I won't say where it is. They'll come kill me. But I don't. Where nobody was listening to Fifth Steps. Nobody was listening to Fifth Steps. Like, what was happening was like that. If I sponsor Chris Schroeder and we're doing this deal, when he gets it written, I send him to a priest or a local guy, or there's some counselors that live in the town that have agreed to listen to Fifth Steps like this. And those counselors, none of these are AA guys. These are just people that have agreed to sit there and listen to him dump his stuff. Well, let me ask you a question. If Chris has a tendency to prevaricate about his past and this kind of stuff, and we're trying to dump an inventory with somebody that doesn't understand our disease, doesn't understand any of this stuff, how effective do you think it'll be? If it was just confessional, I understand the therapeutic part of getting the stuff out. I get that. But it's like the guys that approach me like that, and they go, Myers, listen, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I've agreed to do my fifth step with my wife. Listen, I bet I've talked to 60 or 70 men that told me that kind of thing like that. I mean, terrific. Dude, you better catalog your body parts now. I mean, just check them all and make sure that, because part of them are going to be laying in the street when you're done with this kind of stuff. How truthful do you think you could be in that situation, for one thing? And then what a burden to drop on somebody that loves you that doesn't need to know any of that kind of stuff. What an amazing burden you just placed on them like this. He goes, well, she said if I loved her that it would be okay and that we'd get, I'm going, buddy, she doesn't understand what it's like. It's bad enough in drunk land, but you take that same drama over in dope land and look at some of the crazy stuff some of you guys did. Shame on you. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. You lay that kind of crap out there like, and time out. I don't want that kind of stuff. It's milk, sour, bad, next. It's that fast. You run through that deal. The longest inventory I've done in the last 18 or 19 years was 2.5 hours. And they had 90 or so sheets of inventory. I mean, it was a big, long inventory like that. 2.5 hours works pretty good. Most of them are an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you can get through all of it without any problem at all. And there's some clarity. Everybody's not beat to death by all this other stuff. And guys, I'm telling you, because I've done it both ways, but because I've done big, long inventories over here in that part of my life, and I've done shorter ones over here, I can tell you without any hesitation, without any, I don't even have to think about it. Shorter is always better. I've never, ever, ever felt like I slighted somebody, like we should have been more thorough by taking more time. You just didn't. You harmed some people. Let's look at what you did. What was it? Look at the way the book is on this thing. 2 places on 1 page it said we resolutely turned our thoughts. Now, I even forgot it. I hate this getting old stuff like that. We resolutely look for our own mistakes. We're looking for the things that we did, the things that we caused, and then we're going to go get those things together. Once we get done with these kind of deals, I'm just exactly like Chris. I'm sickened by how oftentimes I hear people talking about experiences they haven't had, and you guys have all sat in meetings with people going, "Well, I haven't actually done that step, but I'd like to share," and then they want to share on this experience that they haven't had, and so what we see over and over again is that we'll get through this thing. Shorter is better if you don't give them a whole lot of time. I can't tell you how many times I've walked up to people we've had even if you give them 10 days, which is what I usually do, 10 days to do this thing, and I pulled up at the church where our meetings are held like that, and their car is down at the other end of the parking lot, and I'll walk up real quiet behind the car and look in the back like this, and they got bloody fingers, and they're writing just as fast as they can. They didn't even start it until they probably got in the parking lot, but however, and it just Let's stay proactive with it. Like, keep a fire lit under it like this, because once we get on the other side of it, guys, the true transitional nature of this work happens once you're on the other side of this work. When you can see who you are authentically, it's the most amazing stuff. There's what was that cat's name? Chris, maybe Big Frank, or somebody like that out of Denver, like that used to do that Circus of the Lies stuff. Mark Houston used to do this idea. I never dreamed that I was such a phony. I mean, I'm just kind of a poser. I want you to think that I'm something special. I used to try to convince everybody that I was a mountain climber. I won't go into all that story, but there was a lot of this kind of stuff that I used to try to do because I'm just simply inauthentic. I'm not really digging who I am, and so if I can come up with this other altar guy like this, that maybe you'll dig that. And everybody likes mountain climbers. Who wouldn't, as a girl, who wouldn't want to go out with a mountain climber, right? And so I used to just tell these people that I was a mountain climber. I drove a little Land Cruiser with ropes tied in it. I had decals all over the back of it from places that I had gone and climbed like this. Guys, let me just tell you, mountains scare the shit out of me. I don't want to be anywhere close to mountains. I like the flatlands where I can look at the mountains way over there like that. Oh, I get more diarrhea thinking about that. I don't want to mess with that stuff. But it took getting into the stuff. It took getting into these inventories to finally start seeing who you really were authentically, and to realize that maybe I am not special. How many of you men used to always convince yourself that your wives and girlfriends were really lucky to have you? That they really, 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 and then you do a piece of inventory and you realize how much crap you stirred up and how much problem you were and how dishonest you were and this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, like overnight, it just goes, God, I mean, this is perfect evidence of God's grace that she stayed with me, that she's even here is absolute evidence of God's grace, because there's nothing will change you more than what this kind of stuff is. And you get some clarity on this, and then you pull it over in step 6 and 7. There's one little thing I want to talk about before we bail out of here like that. This idea of that word objectionable. I didn't see it for a long time. There are a lot of things in my life that I have talked myself into and rationalized into not being objectionable. Let me give you a perfect example. Again, I'm going to do this for guys just because I see it night and day, 24/7. I see this kind of stuff with men that I sponsor like that. We spend life in crazy booze and dope land, and sometimes in sobriety, pre-step work, and a lot of it got twisted up in porn stuff. Now, I never did it over here, and all of a sudden, a lot of times you'll see it, which is kind of disheartening. You'll see guys sober up. There's no booze, no dope anywhere in the picture, and then they're not doing any step work. The spiritual condition begins to remanifest itself, and now they move towards other things. Now they're eating too much. In Texas, we got Bluebell ice cream. Manna from heaven. And I watch guys eat half a gallon a night, and then they put on 40 pounds in 6 months, and they wonder what's going on. There's porn, buying stuff. Any of you guys ever spend money you didn't have? Yeah.
Me. I mean, I got credit cards my wife doesn't know about, and I'm spending on all of it like this. These are all attempts to treat an internal condition with external stuff like that. And so the weird part about it is that a lot of these guys, if you'd ask me if porn's a problem, I'd say no, of course not. It's not. I mean, what could be possibly wrong with that? And then you do inventory and you realize the damage that it did, and you realize all the other stuff that's going on, and now you're at 6 and 7, and you recognize that it's objectionable, and then you can ask God to take that stuff out of there. But guys, there's a whole mess of that kind of stuff that maybe you rationalized, that maybe you didn't. I mean, why would I want to remove something out of my life that I thought was okay, that I had justified? And this is the reason why this thing is so amazing. I used to justify going to strip joints all the time. I had a head full of reasons why it was okay for me to go there. Sober, I'm going. And you finally get through this inventory, you finally see what the damage done, and then you realize that I don't have any business being there. And then the question is, how do I not go there? Well, that's why we at 6 and 7. Left on your own devices, you're still going to be a train wreck. You're still going to find yourself back where you don't belong. And so this is the cool part about this stuff. As you begin to make a list of the things that are objectionable, how about pride? If I say, are you prideful? If I ask Chris if he's prideful, Chris will go, well, I mean, I don't look in the mirror and stuff. I mean, I'm not like, trying to. That's not the pride we're talking about. Like that. Every one of us can justify that kind of stuff. I don't look in the mirror either. You can tell my beard's always crooked, and I got no pride like that, like this. But what about pride? After we do inventory, you begin to look at it, and pride is how other people see me. Now, cast like that, do I care how you perceive me? Yeah. That's the reason I'm so quick to tell you that I own a business, or that I do this, or that I climb a mountain I never climbed. Y'all understand? This is pride, and pride is ugly, guys, because it sets you up as a weird deal. Would I be kind of cool to get rid of pride? Yeah. This is the kind of stuff we're trying to get rid of. The coolest thing in the whole wide world is the day that you finally look at this stuff. Well, I know it takes courage. I know it does. But again, for the stuff that we were talking about in the last hour, for some of you guys that have been around for a while like that, all of this is well and good for guys that are brand new. But if you've been around for a while and you've allowed some of this stuff to creep back into your deal, go pay attention to it again. Go take another little piece of inventory and look at this stuff and see what happens like that. I was 10 years between my first inventory I did with Krusty Cliff, from that inventory to one that I did in Alaska with Chris. I had not done any inventory for 10 years. And guys, let me just tell you like this. I hated everybody. I hated my family. I hated my friends. I hated my job. I hated all this other kind of stuff. And here I am a bunch of years sober, and all this stuff is coming out. And Chris finally had a crawl full of it, and he said, Myers, crying, you're killing me. It's 4 o'clock in the morning in Alaska at the airport, and we're sitting there. There's nobody in that terminal but me and Chris. And we're just sitting there looking, and I'm just snarking about everything like this. And he goes, damn, how long has it been since you did any inventory? And I said, long time. And he said, maybe you ought to write some. And then he got up and moved 2 seats down. I mean, I was like... And so I said, you got anything to write on? And he said, yeah. And he handed me an envelope. And to this day, I just refer to them as envelope inventories. And he handed me an envelope. I had a pen, took it out, wrote it. Took me 10 minutes to write it. Got the stuff all down like this. I said, well, you want to listen to it? And he said, who else is going to listen to it? That guy down there with one of those floor sweeper things down there like this. I said, okay. So anyway, I shared it with Chris like this, and I remember he made a couple of comments, and I set it down. And guys, I'm telling you right now, I felt like I'd been transformed. I remember walking out of that thing like this, and I walked down to the bathroom, and I walk in, and I'm looking at them in the mirror in that bathroom, and I'm just smiling. I'm grinning like an idiot like this. I felt like the weight of the world had been taken off my shoulders. It was just the weirdest feeling like that. And it was like, it's weird, when I walked out, there was a guy coming in the bathroom that had, I don't know how he ended up in our terminal at that time of the morning, but he walked in the bathroom just as I was walking out. And then I turned around a little bit, and he was looking at me. And then I realized I was smiling so big when I walked out of the bathroom. He was looking over my shoulder to see who else was in the bathroom, I think. It was totally weird. It was totally weird like that. But I must have looked like a fool when I walked out of there. But it changed. Guys, it changed everything.
don't let your ego and don't let some fear around looking at some of this stuff keep you from an experience that can be renewed all the time. Okay?
I love you guys. Thank you.